2011, my mum came across a flyer for a come try event which was near my local area. And so we just went along, didn't really think much of it. And that's when I discovered race running. And so I got on a race runner for the first time at that event, and basically I didn't want to come back off, and I just totally fell in love with it straight away. And that's where it all started from.
Wow. And it simply came from that opportunity, that flyer that arrived on your doorstep that your mum noticed.
It wasn't even on the doorstep. My mum worked at the hospital and she just saw it, happened to see it on the wall, which was amazing, because I can't imagine my life without race running now. And if she hadn't seen that, I don't know if I would have discovered race running. So it's amazing. Yeah, I'm really thankful.
Well, look, I mean, I guess we should be thankful that happened and that you came to sport. But, you know, in some ways it's very frustrating to hear that, you know, that physical education wasn't adopting inclusive practices at that time, and, you know, you felt left out. And that there was very few opportunities out there until, by chance, you know, your mum came across that. What's your thoughts on all of that now, looking back?
So, in terms of PE at school, obviously I didn't do much, but now when I look back at that experience, after school I went on to do HNC at Ayrshire College, Sports Coaching and Development, and then I went on to second year at UWS, did Sports Coaching and Development also. So looking back on that, it kind of annoys me, like I couldn't do my Nat 5 PE at school, I couldn't do my higher PE at school, because I was told that I wouldn't be able to pass the practical part. So for me, going to UWS to study sport but not doing it at school was a big eye opener, because everyone in my year at UWS had obviously done the higher PE or advanced higher PE at school, and they had that knowledge behind them that I didn't have. All I had was the experience, and obviously experience is a huge part in any course. So I was able to take that experience and put that into my degree, without having that higher knowledge behind me.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a credit to you and your mindset and your family's support that you were able to take advantage of these opportunities. We'll come back to talk a little bit about your university experiences in a little while. But in the video, you mentioned something, and you kind of touched on it here in one of the answers to the questions, which was, you know, when you're race running, you have this exhilarating feeling of freedom. I mean, and then you mentioned that you got that almost straight away when you first tried the sport. Can you? I know that this is a difficult question for an answer to bring to life, but just tell us more about that feeling of freedom, that sensation that you get.
I think before I had ever tried racing, I hadn't been able to run independently, and I couldn't walk very fast. I couldn't walk on my own. My balance wasn't very good. So as soon as I got on a race run and sat on that saddle, I just felt safe. I felt really safe, and I was able to run really fast without having to worry about my balance or falling over, which I think was just amazing, because I had never experienced that feeling of running before, and a lot of people probably take that for granted. Just being able to run without having to worry about falling over or losing your balance, but for me, race running just gave me that freedom to do that.
I mean, I think you described it probably, this intrinsic sensation, this intrinsic value that you get from participating, and I think you brought that to life very, very well, Kayleigh. You talked about this come and try session that got you interested in sport. And how did your interests blossom and develop from there? You know, how did you manage to take your interest in the sport to the next stage, the next level?
I was racing for about 6 months before I was selected for the World Junior Championships in Dubai. So I was pretty new to the sport when I first went to my major competition, I guess. I was only, I think I just turned 12 years old, so I was quite young. And I came away from that competition. There was no expectations, there was no pressure. I'd never been to a competition before, so this was a big experience, a big chance for me to learn. And I came away with 4 gold medals and 4 world records from that event. So I think when I got home from Dubai in 2012, I just thought I could be really good at this. I've just broken 4 world records at my first competition. So I think it just kind of took off from there. And I've never looked back.
I think you're being very modest there, Kayleigh, when you suggest that you were just pretty good at it. You know, when you break 4 world records, you're world class. You're absolutely world class. And there are very, very few people that reach that status. So I think you're being very modest, and you should be very proud of yourself. I'm sure all your family are.
Thank you.
I mean, but your interests go beyond race running as well. You know, we showed there was some evidence there of you horse riding. There was some evidence of you swimming there in the video. Do you want to tell us about, you know, your interest and uptake of other activities?
Yeah, so after I went to the race running come and drive, and the year after that was just a kind of whirlwind for me, because I started going to other come and drive events of different sports. I went to a swimming gala, and I was picked up by a coach from Kilmarnock Jets, which is a swim team near me for people with disabilities, and that was my first gala where I was picked up to be quite good, and she phoned my mum and said Kayleigh can swim, like she's really good at swimming, would you be interested in doing it competitively? So I wasn't just race running, I was race running, swimming, and I was horse riding as well. So a lot of activities came kind of all at once, from doing nothing to then doing race running, swimming and horse riding at the same time. And I think just being active and having that physical activity that I could go to and I was included, and I felt a sense of achievement when I went. I think that was really important. So I actually stopped race running for 4 years, because my hips just weren't strong enough for me to run anymore. So I stopped race running. And another reason for stopping was race running didn't have that Paralympic pathway that I was looking for. So I ended up going full time to swimming and competitive events and swimming as well. So I trained 9 times a week in the pool for a period of 3 to 4 years. Made British relay teams, Scottish records. So I really enjoyed swimming. And then when race running was announced in October 2018 as a World Athletics event, I just kind of thought, oh, this could be my chance to return to race running, because my hips and my legs were much stronger from swimming. So that could be my chance to give it a go again and see where I'm at. So a week later I went back to track, and I hadn't really lost any speed or any power from when I had been off. So I've been off for 3 to 4 years, and I went back and I could still run fast, and I was still at the level that I was before I stopped. Obviously I had to get my fitness back up, because race running and swimming fitness are totally different. But once I got that back up, I was able to compete again at number 1 in the world.
Yep, it's an amazing journey, that, and you know how there's fractions and then, you know, intermittent periods of different exercise, which are, I mean, really interesting in that respect. I'm picking up 2 things though from it all, Kayleigh. One is that there's a desire for you to push yourself to the limit, you know, and to set goals that go beyond your current horizons. You know, is that the case? And if so, how important is it in terms of your achievements and progress today?
Yeah, I think for me, being race running, I was #1 in the world, but that just wasn't enough for me. I wanted to go that bit further, and I wanted to compete in Paralympic Games, which is why I made the decision to try swimming and try and get to Paralympics in a different sport, because that was my goal, was to go to Paralympics, and I knew that I could swim, and I knew that I was good at swimming. So I gave it a go until RaceRunning came back as a World Paralympics event, and then I kind of changed my mind again. But I think swimming was really important because it taught me a lot of discipline, a lot of dedication and motivation, and especially at university when I was going at 4:30 in the morning to the pool, going straight to uni and then going back in the pool after uni. So I think for me, swimming really has helped me get to where I am today, even in a different sport.
Yeah, it's very interesting that about how, there's on one end, there's an argument to say that specificity and focus at a young age is the pathway to excellence. But, there's plenty of evidence to suggest the alternative pathway here, which is, a broad participation base across a wide range of sports works just as well. And, it's very pleasing to hear that you had this relatively rounded experience of sport, and that helped you towards achieving excellence. So, all credit to you. You mentioned there about, moving to elite level. And, just tell us what a typical day or a typical week is like in terms of your training commitment. Let's not assume that we're in the pandemic. Let's assume that we're back to normal, or whatever normal might look like. What's a typical day and a typical week in Kayleigh's life and the build up to, say, the European Championships next year?
Yeah, I think for me, I don't think people realise that I'm actually working full time. I've got a full-time job with Association Active Skills. So I'm pretty busy with that as well. And I try and fit my training around my job, and it's tough because RaceRunning doesn't get any funding at the moment, so working isn't really an option. I can't say, oh, it's just not working, it's full time, and I need to work at the moment to fund my sport. So I think trying to put my schedule around work and scheduling the best time for me to train. Obviously, because I'm working so much, I get quite tired easily, just from the nature of my disability. So I think it's just trial and error and finding ways for me to train at the best I can and the best times of the day or of the week. I'm quite lucky to have a home gym in my house. So during lockdown, I was donated lots of gym equipment from my local community, so that I could continue my gym work at home. So I've got that now that I'm able to use, and it means that I don't need to travel to the gym. I can do my gym work here. So say I had a half an hour break at work, I could go up to the gym and train and get that done. But a typical week is pretty busy, and I don't just work and train. I own my own house now, so obviously that takes up quite a bit of time for housework and whatever else. And also seeing family and friends is important for me. Just getting that really balance right of work and training, and also socialising and seeing other people and having time for myself as well.
So, you're working full time, so that's a minimum of 35, 36 hours a week. Note the term a minimum there, because, work is work. And then how many hours beyond that are you given to your sport typically in a week in the build up to major games?
Before last year, I was able to train. I wasn't working much. I was only working part time last year, so I was able to train 8-9 times a week. But at the moment, I'm only able to do 6 to 7, or even sometimes 5, depending on my schedule. So it's really important for me when I'm training to get the best out of the session. and really focus on what I'm there to do, because I do have rest sessions and what I did previously, but I'm not going to let that stop me. I'm going to try and work harder and hopefully get faster for next year.
So there's really a focus on the quality of the training experience over and above quantity in that respect.
Yeah, I think before, when I was doing 8 sessions a week, I wasn't really focusing too much on the quality. It was more getting the 8 sessions done, whereas now I'm able to recover better because I've not got as many sessions in a week, and I'm able to do more during my session. Last year I could do about 5k per session max, and now I'm up to doing like 10k in a training session. So even though I'm doing less sessions, the quality of the work I'm doing is really important, and getting that right and getting that recovery right as well, because before I wasn't really good at recovering and getting ready for next session, but I think lockdown's made me realise that I do need to practice recovering and taking a rest, and when my body tells me to. So I'm working on that.
It's very interesting that I do some work with golfers, and at some stage they come to realise that the quality and focus in training is far more significant than quantity. You mentioned previously about committing to academic study, and you came to UWS, and thankfully for us you came here. Hopefully it was a good choice for you. What was your thinking here about following a dual career in terms of studying, but also competing in high performance sport?
I think for me, when I was last year at school, I was deciding what I wanted to do. I wasn't really sure. I knew I wanted to work with children and young people, and I knew that I loved sport. But I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do, because in the back of my head, I was thinking, do I really want to be doing sport full time as a career and as a job, so training and work, or do I want to choose something totally different so that I've got that step away from sport? But I decided to go for it, and because I love sport so much and I've never looked back, I would never regret it either. Studying sport is probably one of the best things that I've chosen to do. I went out and I've got my degree and I've got a job from it now, so yeah, I can't imagine doing anything else now.
How do you reflect on your time here at UWS in terms of, what you studied and who you worked with and what you gained from it? You can be as honest as you want here, what and all, Kayleigh.
Yeah, for me, obviously I was at Ayrshire College for a year, and then I came to UWS for my second and third year, and I really enjoyed it. I felt like the practical part of my course was really good, because I felt included, and that was the first time within an education setting that the lecturers were able to include me, and it was never an issue. It was never a problem, and it was never made a big deal of either, which I think is really important. In terms of the coursework, I really enjoyed that too, and I was studying what I loved doing. So for me, I also have that UWS scholarship, which really helped me in terms of having that support behind me, and they were really understanding in the sense that I was training quite a lot and trying to study at the same time. And I think for my scholarship, I had that opportunity of handing in assessments at a later date if I needed to, and getting some more time on assessments as such. But I never used that extra time, but for me it was always a peace of mind that it was there, and if I needed it, it was there if I needed it, but I never used it. But if I did need it, I knew it was there and I wasn't stressed about getting deadlines, even though I was able to meet them.
And it's really pleasing to hear that you had an inclusive, welcoming, supportive experience here at UWS, and whilst you clearly have enough discipline to manage successfully your studies with your sport, the comfort and the assurance that the scholarship programme gave you in relation to managing that appropriately was there. So, it's very pleasing and very comforting to hear that. I mean, was there anything else that you gained from your university experience out with simply studying? In terms of growing up, in terms of your outlook on life, that you think, I wouldn't have got that if I hadn't come to UWS?
Yeah, I think for me it was a good learning curve, obviously going to school and then college and then coming to university. It was a huge learning curve the way. When I got to UWS, I kind of realised that this is a step up, and I really need to work hard and do well in that degree, and that was kind of my aim, as well as training full time for swimming at the time. But I think for me, having sport behind me whilst I was doing my degree was really, really important, because I was able to go away from coursework or university lectures, and I was able to swim and take my mind off things, and then go back and do my studying and do my coursework. So having that time away and then coming back was really important for me, and it taught me that I could step away and then come back, and my mind was more refreshed and open to learning new things, instead of not taking that time to think about things and do my best, really.
You clearly demonstrate that you adopt an open mindset to everything that comes your way, whether it's training, college, or work, and having that open mindset and a desire to learn and take on new ideas clearly contributes to the huge success that you've had. I want to move the conversation on a little bit, if we can, Kayleigh, and talk about the moment you became world champion last year. Tell us a little bit of the build up to that event, what your ambitions were leading up to that event, and really how you managed these expectations.
So the year before, I'd won silver at the Europeans. So leading up to the World Championships in Dubai, I didn't really feel much pressure. I just kind of wanted to go there and do my best and perform the way that I knew I could. But for me, some days are better than others with my disability. So it really depends on the day. And luckily enough, the day I was racing, I was having a really good day. So I think that's really important as well, for people to realise that not every day I can perform like that. Some days my legs won't work properly, or I can't run as fast. So I'm still trying to figure out what's the best preparation in terms of getting me ready in the best shape for before a race. Obviously you can prepare as much as you can, but with cerebral palsy it's quite, you don't know what it's going to be like day to day. So yeah, that's something that I struggle with, and I think for me I need to train through that so that I can work on that. And if I'm having a bad day before a competition, I know that I can get back on track right before my race. And the lead up, I was training really well. I was going pretty fast. I'd broken a couple of personal bests months before, so I was really looking forward to it, and I knew I was in a good place. So when I got on that start line, I was ready, and I knew that I'd done everything I could in the lead up to make sure that I was the best player that I could be. And then, I don't know if you noticed, but in the video when the gun went, I don't know what happened, but I kind of froze and didn't really move very far at the start. So I think for me, knowing that I've got something that I can work on, even though I broke the world record and got gold, I know that I've still got areas to work on, and that means that potentially I could be faster for next time.
And that reflection on your performance, I mean, to us it looked like the model perfect performance. When you break the world record, you become world champion. It sounds pretty perfect to me, but you have this reflection of what you did well, what aspects you could improve on. Is that driven by you? Is it driven by the coach, or is it a combination of both?
I think I've always been really independent and really motivated, and I wasn't really brought up any different to anyone else. So I think for me, it's just being the best I can from my disability. I don't let that stop me in any way of my life. So I think also my coach and my family do have a big part to play. For example, when I messed up my start in Dubai at the World Championship, in my head I had done that start about 6,000 times over and over, and I got it perfect. I got it so good that I knew I've been doing it every single time like that, and I knew that I could do it in the race. But when it came to it, it didn't quite come together. So I think even though I got gold,
Oh, we've hung a little bit here.
Oh, sorry.
Back, Kayleigh. Sorry, we got to the bit where you said that you had, although you had rehearsed this start both in training and in your mind, constantly, it didn't quite come right for you on the day.
Yeah, so when that gun went and my wheel went up in the air, which obviously you want your wheel to go forward, you don't want it to go flying up in the air. So when I felt my wheel going up in the air, I thought, oh no, I've messed it up. But I was able to kind of refocus, and halfway down the 100-metre straight, I was able to pick up my speed and overtake the girl in second place, which I'm not quite sure how I managed to do, but I did in my mind. Now I know I can do it, and with a better start, hopefully I can go even faster.
And I mean, it's fascinating. What does it feel like when people say, introduce you as Kayleigh Haggo, world champion?
I think it's quite surreal because I never really thought that race running would be in this position, because when I started there was only two race runners in Scotland, so it wasn't popular, and it wasn't a big event, and now it's just massive, and there's so many countries competing, there's so many athletes, it's just growing and growing all the time, and I think for me to be able to look back and see how much it's actually growing it's just incredible.
And do you feel a responsibility that to the sport that you have a duty to promote its growth and its advancement around the world?
I think so. I actually run my own club, race running club in Girvan, so I have 7 athletes that come along to that, and for me, I just love coaching them and seeing them grow and getting faster as well, and most of them are really young, so I can't wait to see them get older and get faster and grow and love the sport the same way I did or do. So.
And is there a future Kayleigh Haggo in that squad?
Definitely. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's great. That's good to hear. I just want to end with one question, Kayleigh, before I pass it on to the questions, because time's ticking here, and I could spend much longer asking you questions here. You perform at the very highest level. You spend time supporting in your own time, a club that's relevant to your sport and to your position, and at the same time, you're an active schools coordinator here. So you've got a busy life here, a very busy life. I mean, is there anything else in your life that you think, I feel there's a void here, or I need to try and achieve something in?
I think when I was at UWS, I haven't mentioned this previously in the interview, but when I was at UWS, I had the opportunity to do my level 1 swimming teaching course. And at the time when I was asked if I wanted to do it, I was like, I can't teach. I can't do that. I wasn't confident in myself, and my speech isn't great sometimes, so I just thought I couldn't do it. And it wasn't something I'd ever thought of before. But my mum encouraged me to go for it, and she said if you don't like it after the course, that's fine, you don't need to teach. And so I did my level 1 course, and during my practical, it kind of made me realise that I can do this, and it's something that I'm really good at. So I went on to work for the council, and I worked for the council for 4 years, and doing swimming teaching. And during that time, I was able to build up. I was doing one-to-ones and private lessons, and I had a waiting list of people who wanted lessons. And I think that was a real eye-opener for me. And I ended up going self-employed and doing swimming teaching self-employed. So I'm still doing that just now, 3 years on. So yeah, I think for me that's one thing that I was worried about, and then I proved myself wrong.
Kayleigh, you're a remarkable young person, and it's really pleasing not only to witness your successes, but to hear about the person you are and about how you live your life, and how about you have this altruistic desire to give back and to help other people. I mean, that's truly inspirational. I have this vision that at some stage I'm going to read about you, climbing Mount Everest, or swimming the Channel or something like that. I sense that will come. But I'm going to pass over now to questions from the audience. I know that Ewan's been collecting them, so I'll pass over to Ewan just now.
Thanks, Riley. Thanks, Kayleigh, as well. Really enjoyed that conversation there. I've got a couple of questions in, so if anybody else wants to add, please do. First one from Laura, who I think you may know. Lovely to hear from you, Kayleigh. Your achievements are phenomenal. It never ceases to frustrate me seeing children sitting at the side watching PE because teachers don't know how to accommodate them. From your experience and knowledge gained in your studies, what would you say to these teachers? And do you work to support teachers at all in your current role?
Yeah, so I've also got a part-time job with Scottish Disability Sport and my tutor and I do other disability inclusion courses, and I've just passed my tutoring course. I co-tutored for 5 years with them, and I passed my tutoring course 2 months ago, so I'm now able to deliver that course to teachers and to senior pupils. So yeah, within my role with that,
That's great. Thanks very much. And I think another person you might know is Wendy, is testifying to the race running coaching you're doing in Girvan, saying there's definitely some future race runners down there. A brilliant coach, and the kids love it. That's great to hear as well.
Definitely, there's a couple in the group who are very fast, and I think I need to watch it. They're very good, yeah, and I love working with them.
Excellent. So just going back, Laura's got another point about you're obviously working full time as well as doing your sport. And the question is more around: is this the same across the board for those you're competing against at an elite level, or is funding available for athletes in other countries?
So because racing is not a Paralympic event and it's not funding for Paralympics, and it's not available across the country, but obviously external funders can come in and support as well. But I think now that it's proposed hopefully be in Paris 2024. And if that goes ahead, they'll look at giving funding in a couple of years' time in the lead up to that. So that would be a huge, massive change for me, and I was able to focus more on training and work hard to get to the Paralympics.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed. The rise of the sport, which obviously, as you've spoke about, is continuing on that upward trajectory, and then the funding comes along with that as well, hopefully.
Yeah, I was really lucky last year to secure funding with Standard Life Aberdeen Investment, but unfortunately due to COVID, that partnership has had to stop, and hence why I'm working more hours now than what I was before. But I love my job and I love doing what I do, so yeah, I can't really complain.
That's fantastic. And is there any advice you would give to any UWS students at the moment who are thinking about taking up the sport or getting into sport in general?
Yeah, I think just try it. Try different things. See what you like. See what's best for you. Maybe don't focus on what you're good at, because you don't always go into sport and you're good at it. I think that comes with practice and training and working hard. So yeah, just give it a go and don't be afraid to try new things.
That's great. Thanks very much for the advice. Okay, Riley, I'll pass back to you to kind of wrap things up.
Thanks, Sean. Kayleigh, thanks for your time today. I mean, it's been fascinating, both fascinating and informative. I think that's two lovely words to describe it today. And, you know, it's hearing your journey and how you've made these progressive incremental steps over a very rapid, quick time is, you know, it's amazing, but it's also exciting to hear. And look, we wish you very well for your sport, and you know, we look forward to seeing you break more records and winning more medals in the future. And we wish you well with your ventures, you know, with your sport, around your work and your voluntary support of these clubs. Wouldn't it be great if the next world champion is one of Kayleigh Haggo's prodigies? So.
That would be good.
For your
Thank
time.
you.
And thanks for your contribution to here. It's been great. It's been really enjoyable for me, and hopefully the others have gained a lot out of it as well.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thank you.